Hey, what's up, fight fans? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC on ESPN Plus 2 or UFC Fight Night 144 from Fortaleza, Brazil, as Raphael Assuncao faces off against Marlon Moraes in our main event. Coming off UFC Brooklyn, not the greatest event for me. It was a bad start to the year. Betting wise, it was a good start. DraftKings, it was a horrible start, but betting wise, I managed to win pretty nicely to start off the year. But went 7-6 my picks, so I have to do better than that. That's terrible. With my big underdog of the week and Donald Cerrone coming through, I've got another one for this week here, so hopefully I can keep that train going. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Go up, subscribe in the box in the corner, hit the bell there, and you'll be notified when my video comes into your playlist or whatever it may be on YouTube. And let me know your picks, let me know what's going on, and let me know who you think are betting, so on, so on. My DraftKings League, if I'm going to pin this to the top of my comments there, if you want to be a member of my league and join, I think there was like 16 of us last time out, which was pretty good. So if you want more than that, if you guys want to join, and come and join us, then just let me know. I will add you to the league, and then I can make bigger tournaments for that there. I can't remember the guy who won. I apologize. I went to look there, but couldn't see it. I think he had a good score, if I remember off the top of my head there. But yeah, come and have a little look there and have a little play with us on DraftKings and see if you can come and take my money, which is not very hard to do these days because I'm kind of dwindling on DraftKings a little bit. So yeah, we're going to get into this fight card. I'm going to get into it relatively quickly because I was literally, my computer and everything just shut down after talking. I was at the Teymur Charles Oliveira fight, which sucked. So I'm going to get into that. I don't want a repeat of that. So we are going to get into it, and we're going to start in where are we going to start? A flyweight division. We've got Rogerio Bontorin against Magomed Bibulatov. Coming out the gate there, I like Bibulatov. He's taken the right amount of time off after that vicious knockout to Joe Moraga, which I didn't see anybody picking Joe Moraga via knockout in the first 90 seconds or so. Got caught with a shot there. I thought I still think he is the better fighter, but he just got caught. Yeah, interesting. It's an interesting fight because those type of fights are always hard to kind of come back from. And yeah, I think what he's going to want to do here is he's going to want to play it safe. I think the one thing that Bontorin is really good at is he's good on the ground, very crafty down there. But I think that he's just going to want to play it safe, get takedowns, and really don't move out of position all too much, and just kind of win the fight through his takedowns. What I've seen from Bontorin is that he is very good down on the ground. He has fairly decent entries into his takedowns. I just don't think his entries into his takedowns are going to be that easy to come by against someone like Bibulatov. His only losses against Mishinori Tanaka, a former UFC vet, who's a really tough out for anybody that fights him. So yeah, the kind of on the feet, I think Bibulatov is faster, he's crisper, he has more variety with his strikes. I just think he needs to be careful here. If it goes to the ground, mind your P's and Q's. Don't get caught up in the ground game of Bontorin. I think he should win. Bontorin on that the Dana White Contender Series, the Brazil show, really nice second round submission over Gustavo, I think his name was. Worked his rear naked choke very well. And looked decent, to be honest with you. Yeah, the fights I've seen him, he's looked a very kind of doable, good fighter. Now he makes the step up here against Bibulatov, who came in with a lot of kind of high expectations. I'm going to go Bibulatov. I think he's just a little bit of a class above Bontorin. I'm going to pick him via 30-27 in that one there. So next up, bantamweight division, Ricardo Ramos against Said Nurmagomedov, who makes the move up to 135 after his only fight in the UFC at 125 against Justin Scoggins, where he won that one, which I thought was a little bit... I think Justin Scoggins felt a little bit hard done by. I think a lot of people did as well. I think Scoggins was a pretty sizable underdog in that one. I think a lot of people were kind of pissed there. I thought it was a close fight. I think I did... I did like it more for Scoggins I think I picked side, and I was actually going to bet him, but I thought just to stay away, and it was a good choice in the end, because it was a little bit too close for comfort, in my opinion. Showing that he's got some big power. He's not like everybody goes on like, oh, he's like Khabib. I've seen people say he's like Khabib because he's his cousin or so what. So the guy hasn't got the pressure near enough from what Khabib has to even be in the same league as that guy. The one thing I took away from that fight, though, was I thought once he got Scoggins against the cage, he would keep him there. But Scoggins was really good at getting the underhook and reaping out to the side. And maybe he was just using his speed and his quickness, because he is very light in his feet. He is very good in his feet. It's Justin Scoggins. He's got fast feet, and he's awkward with his movements a little bit. And maybe that's why he couldn't keep him against the cage. Excuse me. So yeah, and then eventually when it went in the third round, he got that takedown. He established that was the clear round, in my opinion. He won. But it was a very, very close competitive fight. Now he makes the move up to 135 against Ramos, who's a guy I've tried to fade in his last two fights. And I still think that Kyung Ho Kang actually beat him last time out. And I know I had money on Kang. I think he was plus 200. I thought that line was a little bit not warranted. But Ramos showed he's an all-around good fighter, good distance striker, good output, very kind of aggressive, comes forward. He was pushing early on. He was pushing Kang back against the cage and hitting him with some nice shots. And Kang was hitting him with some nice counter shots, which was a little bit worrying. But he ate them pretty well. Got some takedowns against Kang, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting Kang to get the takedowns, and he did get a couple. Didn't do an awful lot with them, but on the feet you could see that Ramos was the better overall technical striker, who used a good distance striker, really, really solid all-around striking arsenal. And I've went and bet Ricardo Ramos in this fight here. I bet him. This was the first fight I did for this card, and at the time of releasing the odds over here in the UK, he was an underdog. He was plus 110. I like those odds a lot. I didn't think he should have been an underdog in that spot. I thought he should have been in the I actually think he should have been in the minus 150 range, in my opinion. Maybe not. Maybe 130. I would have said, yeah. Minus 130 is the region. I think it's now minus 110 with him and Nurmagomedov. Where I think he wins this fight, I don't think he gets. I think he will get taken down, but I think he's got enough to get back on his feet. And he is dangerous off his back. He showed that. I think he went for a leg lock, which Kang was definitely a little bit uncomfortable down there. And yeah, I just think he's got, I think on the feet, I think he is the faster, slicker striker, the more powerful striker. He has to be careful with Nurmagomedov throwing spinning back fists and so on. Ramos never did his camp at Team Alpha Male here. He did it in Brazil. I think he's 2 hours away from Fortaleza, so fairly local. I'm going to go Ricardo Ramos in this one. I'm going to go via stoppage. Via decision. I'm going to go maybe a 29-28 win for Ricardo Ramos there. Now, the next fight, guys, I'm not going to break down because I don't think I should. I've watched one fight of either guy, and it's Geraldo de Freitas against Felipe Colares. And the only reason I'm not going to give a prediction for this one is I will put in the drop-down box once I watch a couple of fights earlier on this week regarding this. It's because I literally had no idea. I did the MMA huddle a couple hours ago, and I had no idea about this fight literally until today. So I managed to watch one fight of either guy, one highlight video of either guy. Don't think it warrants a pick. I think I know which side I'm going, but keep an eye. I'll put an asterisk down the bottom who I'm going to pick. I might do a little bit of write-up on why I'm going to pick it as well. So, yeah, that is De Freitas against Colares. So I'll put an asterisk in the bottom and I'll pick who I think is going to win in that one down in there. But like I say, I don't think it warrants me telling you how it is, considering I've only really seen one fight of either guys. So moving on, heavyweight division. Junior Albini against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Another newcomer into the heavyweight division here against someone in Albini who do or die fight. It kind of seems like that to me. I think that he's I can't trust Junior Albini, if I'm being honest with you. I cannot believe he got himself into that position against Alexei Olenek. Now, Olenek is a master at just finding a little bit of space that he needs to get that submission off, and he did so against Albini. Albini, what he had to do is just really stay kind of light in his. I don't want to say light in his feet because I'm going to get into this in a second. But he should have showed a lot more movement and just kind of bide his time against someone like Olenek. But he decided to get in close and not give the opportunity of Olenek to catch something, which he did. I think I got a little bit overconfident, Junior Albini. I picked him against Arlovski, and he gave Arlovski far too much respect. And in the end, that came back and really hurt him in that fight. Jairzinho, a guy that I only kind of found out about recently after watching Risen at the, I don't know when it was, the New Year, I think it was. No, it wasn't New Year. It was a while back, actually. I knew about him, but I knew, doing a little bit of research on him, he's been a kickboxer, I think, since 2009, so he's been around for a long time. 76-6 with 64 KOs. So the guy's got some big power, and you can definitely see that. Got some nice striking, got a beautiful jab. And the one thing I was a little bit worried about, I thought his cardio would be pretty bad, but it's actually not too bad. In his fight with Kovalev, his last one before coming into the UFC here, he started to slow in the third. Now, he is a heavyweight at the end of the day, and that's going to happen. He got taken down, and Kovalev's a fighter I know a little bit about because he tries to get takedowns, obviously from Europe, so I know a little bit more about him than I did Rozenstruik. And he came into that one, I expected him to come in for takedown straight off the bat and not win a strike with Jairzinho, and stood up with him pretty good, took a few strikes, did Jairzinho, which I didn't expect Kovalev to really get that many decent big strikes off, but he did. But like I say, fights with a really good jab, dangerous power with both hands, throws a lot of flying knees, throws very fast switch kicks. But he's only fought outside the first round once. That's a little bit of a problem for me. When it comes to his takedown defense, I don't think it's that bad. I think he can get taken. I think against a very strong wrestler in that division, he will lose fights. Predominantly, I really do believe that. But he showed in that Kovalev fight that he can transition, reverse, and once he goes there, he's got some heavy ground and pound, and you don't want to be underneath this guy because when you are, he delivers heavy blows. In this matchup with Albini's a decent Muay Thai striker, some decent speed, where Jairzinho is more athletic and more powerful in my opinion. So it's kind of that Muay Thai speed against overall kickboxing, athletic power ability of Jairzinho. The one thing I hate about Junior Albini is his footwork sucks. Plants his feet, they don't move. So he's there to be counter-struck very easily. I think someone against like Jairzinho can do that there. I think Albini's way to win this fight is get takedowns if he can. And usually he gets them from kind of the clinch position. So we'll see if he can get that. I just think Jairzinho's going to catch him with a shot and knock him out. So Jairzinho, Rozenstruik, second round, TKO victory there. Women's flyweight division, we've got Mara Romero Borella against Talia Santos. We'll start with the newcomer here in Santos, who actually really impressed me in the fights that I've seen now. She's 15-0. And when you see someone come into the UFC with a record like that, you kind of take notice, but then you obviously look at the opponents that they've faced. And Santos, some of her opponents haven't been to her ability. She's been matched up. She could have been 13-0 against 1-0 and 1-1 fighters, which is not great. But again, you're coming up through those regionals. Sometimes that's going to happen. You're not going to get matched up because people protect their fighters and so on and so on. But really, you go back off her last fight. That's a thing that everybody, if you're watching fights, you will obviously go back, well, what's the last fight? And it was a Dana White Contender Series, which was against Almeida. And one of the things that right off the bat, it was the first fight I watched, and I usually don't watch the latest fights of guys and girls. I usually kind of go back and then watch kind of the evolution of the fighter. But I watched this one first, and what I loved about Santos is she's got great fundamentals. And when I say that, I mean she's got a beautiful jab and a beautiful whipping leg kick, which is something that if you've got those two fundamentally kind of down to a T, they're going to help you in so many areas of the fight there. She puts the one thing that I think she could do better, but I think she does okay is the jab. She uses that kind of jab leg kick combination fairly well, but she doesn't really add more power shots into it. Now, she has got power shots in there because I've seen, I think I've only seen like 4 fights that I managed to find of her. So like her last fight, I never seen the last, I want to say 5 before that. Then I saw that one, and then I saw the Rachel Cummins fight, and I was a little bit worried about her takedown defense, because for me, Borella is takedown or bust in this fight for me. So Cummins comes out, really doesn't want to engage in the feet, grabs a hold of her, and really holds on to her for 3 minutes, probably, I want to say, of that fight. And to be honest with you, the referee should really kind of stop the fight and put them back on their feet, because nothing really happened. Cummins was just kind of holding on for dear life, trying to turn around into the guard of, well, it wasn't really the guard. Santos, her backside was really sitting against her chest and her stomach. She was just kind of holding on with her arms around her. And then eventually, I think about the 2-minute part of that first round, or maybe the 4-minute part of that round, actually, Souza, Santos, I should say, managed to reverse into the guard and then delivered some heavy ground and pound, some very vicious ground and pound, and got the stoppage there. So the girl's got power. She's got some striking acumen. I like her fundamentals here, and I think on the feet she will boss Borella. Borella has obviously got a lot of experience. They've both got similar amounts of fights, but she has probably the better experience against better fighters, to say. She's coming off a loss against Caitlin Chikagian, where she got a takedown in that one, didn't do anything with it, and then got just kind of beat up in the feet. Against, it's a typical Caitlin Chikagian fight where she kind of hits and runs, and she did that for the majority of the fight. The Kalindra Faria fight, you've seen what she wanted to do there, get the fight to the ground. I think we've seen that Faria is just she's not good on the ground. She gives you opportunities. And Borella went in there and did the business against her. That's kind of how I see this fight going, is on the feet I see Santos as being the better technical striker, where Borella is just not a decent striker at all. I think she's going to eat shots here, whether it be low kicks, whether it be a jab, and she's going to jump in for sloppy takedowns. I believe that's what she's going to try and do. And in those instances, I think she could take some heavy blows. I think once she starts taking some shots off of Santos, I think that she will kind of start to look for a little bit of a way out. And I think that Santos has got an opportunity to stop her here. So I'm going to go Talia Santos via TKO, via ground and pound in round number 2 to win that one there. So yeah, I'm actually pretty confident in that. And our betting line's actually coming down, which is a little bit... She was in, like, I think last week I saw she was minus 220. She's like minus 160 over here in the UK now, and that's just coming down. So people are seeing something in Borella maybe that I'm not seeing, but I like Santos in that fight. Welterweight division, we've got Thiago Alves against Max Griffin. Ooh, this to me, I've seen a lot of people talk this fight up on the forums and so on, and a lot of people are really confident in Max Griffin, and I can see where they're coming from. I've just got a feeling that Thiago Alves is going to show up in this one and give us a little bit of a Muay Thai clinic, because every now and again he does that. He did that against Patrick Cote, I want to say 18 months ago, or whenever that may be. And sometimes he shows that predator that he was way back when he was destroying Matt Hughes and I think it was Carl Parisian. I've kind of been, I don't want to say I've been... I don't want to say like it's a heavy kind of decrease in talent from Thiago Alves, because since like GSP, but it seems since then he's just not been the same fight. He's pulled out a lot of fights. He's taken a lot of damage in a majority of the fights, but in some of the fights he has come back, like the Jordan Main one, which I think his Cote performance was a good one, but Cote was obviously in the way out. He was already retiring off that fight, win or lose. The Jordan Main fight, he took a lot of damage in that one, and then managed to find a body kick which folded Jordan Main, but that was over 4 years ago. Since then, he took a lot of damage against Carlos Condit, lost to Jim Miller in a botched attempt at 155, never should have been the case. Then you could see in the Curtis Millender fight, his taking damage was not... It's definitely decreasing. You can definitely see like his damage meter was definitely getting lower, and eventually caught that knee, and the ref made a good decision to stop that one there. And I thought he was a little bit unlucky against Alexei Kunchenko. I thought he fought really well early on in that fight. Kunchenko throws a lot of kind of singular strikes, and he's just hard to look good against. But I thought he gave himself an opportunity in that fight. Anywhere else in the world, he might have maybe had an opportunity to win that fight, but lost it either way. I just think that it's the trap fight for people betting Max Griffin. I've seen a lot of people bet Max Griffin, and it's probably more on the fade of Thiago Alves than it is on the skill set of Max Griffin, even though I think Max Griffin is actually making strides in his game. I really do. Probably at the best part of his career, 33 years old, came into the UFC short notice against Colby Covington, tough fight, either way you look at it. Beat Eric Montano like you should. Lost to Zaleski dos Santos. I took a lot away from that fight against Zaleski dos Santos because he showed a lot of durability, a lot of heart, can take some big shots because Dos Santos gives you a lot of problems in there. And then he rebounded with his best win to date of his career when he beat Mike Platinum Perry and just fought a beautiful game plan. Did enough on the feet to kind of engage with Mike Perry, but when Mike Perry's aggressiveness really hurt him in that fight where he came forward, got takedowns, and just fought a great fight with his striking as well, and then lost to Curtis Millender. And there's no harm in that because Millender is a dangerous guy with a hard skill set to get ready for. But I've just got this feeling that Thiago Alves is going to show up and show a little bit of a clinic that he can do, but it's hard to pick. It's hard to trust in picking Thiago Alves, honestly. Don't think it's the worst pick in the world. Maybe not even the worst bet in the world. I'd rather go elsewhere with my money, but I'm going to pick Max Griffin. It's going to be my least confident picks, but I'm picking Max Griffin in that one there. Moving on, Markus Perez against Anthony Hernandez, Fluffy Hernandez, who makes his UFC debut here. And we'll start with a newcomer in Fluffy here, a guy that I heard a lot about from certain people. Were telling me about this kid coming up through California and so on. And I never seen any of his fights until the Dana White Contender Series fight when he was against, I think it's Jordan Wright or Jordan Knight, I can't remember his name. And that's a guy that takes a lot of hate, is Jordan Wright, because he was a rich kid out of Beverly Hills, kind of had everything kind of handed to him. And in that fight, Anthony Hernandez, the first kind of meaningful shot had Jordan on the back foot, and really from there he started. Once he found out one clean shot, he put Jordan out. Really nasty finish, and he got the opportunity there. So this was one of the early fights I went back and looked at. I watched I think it was the 6 fights of Fluffy from his early fight to his last fight before coming into the UFC. Dangerous striker's got a lot of power. Have to be very careful. But I do see holes in his game. I think this is a big step up against Perez. The one fight I took a lot from was the 25-minute fight with Brendan Allen to win the LFA middleweight title there. Big win for him against Allen, who's a decent fighter himself. Showed that he got taken down in that fight, but showed that he can come through adversity and fight through all that. But like Perez is a tough guy to really. He's a tough guy to face. He really is. What he's shown to me is that he's a really hard-nosed fighter, decent on the ground, decent on the feet, a little bit wild, a little bit unpredictable. Which the one thing that kind of worries me in this fight for him is if he starts to engage with Hernandez, because I think Hernandez has more power. And it's a little bit more kind of unpredictable with his strikes. So if he starts getting into a striking war with Hernandez, I think Hernandez could carry it on top in that. But in the Botanovic fight, you've seen that he's got a bit of a ground game. Now, Botanovic's not that good. Took him down, worked for his submission really well, was really patient, didn't rush anything, didn't rush the choke. Once he got it, he got it. And it was a beautiful, beautiful submission. Eric Anders came in there, took a lot of shots in that Eric Anders fight, but stayed in there, gave as good as he got. And yeah, just it was a tough fight for him as a UFC debut. Before that, beat Ian Heinisch, who's now a UFC middleweight, Ildemar Alcantara and Paulo Thiago, who are two former UFC fighters. So yeah, it looks a decent fighter. Not I don't want to say there's a high ceiling for him, but he's a durable, hard-nosed fighter, and he's awkward to look good against. I think he could have definitely won that Andrew Sanchez fight with a little bit more, if he's shown a little bit more. I thought Sanchez actually in that fight showed that he made improvements because his cardio was a big thing I was a little bit worried about, and he obviously improved that. But in the third round, Perez hit him with a couple of shots there that had him rocked a little bit, had him, I don't want to say stumbling, but kind of had him a little bit in trouble, but came through that and won the fight. But yeah, I'm going to pick Markus Perez here. Wasn't overly impressed with with Hernandez when I go back and watch like his early fights. But again, like I said earlier on, it's regional talent. So you're never ever going to get the best guys out there. But I think that Markus Perez is a tough fight to introduce yourself to the UFC. I bet him at plus 190, which I think's off. And now I think he's plus 150, plus 160. So the line is coming down. People are seeing what I'm seeing a little bit there, thinking this is going to be a hard fight for Hernandez. It's a fight Hernandez can most definitely win, guys. I think he's a good, talented fighter himself. But I just think that Perez is going to make this dirty. He's going to make it ugly. He's going to make it grimy. And he's going to win this fight here via decision. So I'm going to go Markus Perez for the upset in that one there. Moving on, we've got Livia Souza against Sarah Frota. Sarah Frota, didn't really know about her too much a couple of years ago, and then I saw her fleetingly on SFL. I think I saw her on, they might have had that on one of the channels over here in the UK, and I was wondering why it was on that channel, and she was on that night. And SFL, I think it's an Indian kind of promotion. They do like a point system league with different parts of the country, with teams and so on. And she was on a team that wasn't overly great, but she was the biggest, the best fighter on the team for the simple reason she kept getting maximum points for first round TKOs and first round submissions. And that's what she showed on that. They are not a good technical striker. She's got decent power, but she loops a lot of her shots. The one thing I did like was just her patience on the ground. Her last two wins are over the same person, by the way, which was a little bit weird. She beat on that SFL and then beat on the Dana White Contender Series even quicker than she did the first time around. But she, in that Malara de Santos fight, she got put on the ground, worked for her submissions really well, didn't take things that quick, just went step by step and found a triangle choke, which is something she's shown in the past. There's actually a fight, I think it was the Felicio one, where she worked for her armbar really well that I watched. But then she came out in the Dana show and she knocked this girl out inside the first minute and a half, I think it was. Like I say, dangerous striker. But apart from that, I think she's at a speed disadvantage here against Olivia Souza. I think opponent-wise, like the experience that Souza has over her is a lot more, just a lot more than what Sarah Frota has faced. The first time I ever seen her was against Kancampa, obviously, when she came into the Invicta and she won the title there via submission in the fourth round. Deanna Bennett, she knocked out with I think it was a body kick. Lost a very close split decision to Angela Hill, which is a little bit iffy because Hill's, I don't rate her too much. Followed out with a knockout of Hamasaki. Moraes, she won via a decision, and then got one of the easier fights to introduce herself to the UFC in Alex Chambers there. Where I think she's got an advantage is the speed and technique over the power of Frota. I think Frota definitely has the power on her, but the speed and the technique is definitely on Livia Souza's side. When it comes to the ground, I actually think the better jiu-jitsu comes from Souza. I think she's got a lot of skill down there, but she has to be really careful with Frota because Frota's shown that she can go step by step and find submissions through that, and she's a powerful girl. I'm going to go Olivia Souza. A fight I really want nothing to do with betting wise or so on, but I'm seeing a lot of people super confident in her. I'm not super confident in her. I think she wins the fight, so I'm going to go Olivia Souza. I actually think she could submit. I think she will find a way to stop the fight. I think she can submit Sarah Frota. So I'm going to go Livia Souza via maybe a third round, don't know, rear naked choke, who knows. Light heavyweight division. Johnny Walker against Justin Ledet. This is another fight people are very, very confident in Justin Ledet, and I'm like, I'm not too sure about that myself. He's coming off a devastating display against Alexander Rakic. Alexander Rakic absolutely destroyed him from the very get-go of that fight. Rakic came out and threw leg kicks, and that really hurt Ledet very, very early on. And when you look at the wins that Ledet has got, I mean, Chase Sherman, Mark Godby, Azuan Yamu, I mean, that's not good wins at all. Those guys aren't in the UFC anymore. Yeah. But when we talk, I might as well talk about Ledet because we're on him here. What does he possess? Really good boxing boxing skills, I should say. I don't want to say good footwork, but good enough footwork. Beautiful jab. Doesn't really follow it up, I don't think, with it too much. I think if he was to follow it with a devastating strike or just a better combination instead of the one singular jab all the time, then I think it could pay a lot of dividends for him, but he just doesn't do that. And in that, he is open to counters, definitely open to counters. And we saw that in the Rakic fight, and he's open to takedowns as well. Rakic got takedowns on the guy, which I wasn't expecting, if I'm being honest with you. But Rakic completely dominated him. You seen what the limitations of Justin Ledet were in that fight. And I'll be honest, this is the thing when you watch too many fights and maybe a guy. So Johnny Walker, I watched quite a lot of his fights, and you've seen his early fights there, and there's one fight that sticks in my head and I cannot get it out of my head, and it's a fight where he pretty much gets knocked out 3 times in 20 seconds, gets super aggressive, comes forward, takes a right hand right in the chin, flops down. I think when he hits the mat, he actually wakes himself up. He gets up, gets hit with another shot, goes down, tries to go up again, gets hit with another shot, and gets knocked out within the first 30 seconds, I want to say, of that fight. But moving on, I might as well talk about his UFC introduction, to say the least. I picked him against Khalil Roundtree. I'm really annoyed I didn't bet him. He was plus 215 at the time, and he went out there and destroyed Khalil Roundtree, got him in the clinch, and absolutely beat the absolute living piss out of Khalil Roundtree in the clinch. Those big thudding elbows were serious, serious strikes. And that's dangerous. I'm still not super sold on him, but in this matchup, I like him to win this fight here down in Brazil. I think that he's got a really good opportunity to do the business here. I think if he can start off, fight at distance, try and maybe, I think leg kicks are definitely a massive thing in his arsenal here if he can use them. If he can do that, then that would be a big kind of feather in his cap to kind of start off the fight right. And I think look to try and get into that clinch position again. If I'm Justin Ledet, I'm doing everything I can to stay away from that. Fight at distance, try and use that jab, and try and use combinations to follow up. That's something he needs to do here. He's not going to win this fight in Brazil by just throwing singular jabs, not unless he jabs the face off Johnny Walker. For me, I think that Johnny Walker's just going to catch him. I think he's got some big power there. I've seen in the Stuart Austin fight, once he gets in the clinch, he throws devastating knees up the middle, and that's something that I think he could catch Ledet on. I'm going to go a second round TKO victory for Johnny Walker in that one there. Moving on, Charles Oliveira against David Teymur. Really good fight here. I want to say a step up for David Teymur. Charles Oliveira is a guy I love watching fight. I think a lot of people do. He worries me. I don't think I could bet him. I don't think I could bet on Charles Oliveira for the simple fact you don't know if he's going to turn up with his head on or not, because sometimes he has looked for ways out of fights. You have to say that. But when he's on, the guy's so devastating, and especially in his ground game. His striking, I always think, has been underappreciated, especially recently. I think it's something he's used a lot more to set up his entries into takedowns and into positions, grappling positions. And we all know once this guy gets you to the ground, or even if he doesn't have to get to the ground, if he can just latch onto your back, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble against this guy. And that's obviously going to be the game plan here. He's not going to want to sit and trade shot for shot with David Teymur, who I think is the faster striker, far more lighter on his feet, and is going to look to hit and move. That's what he's going to do. He's not going to want to engage too much with Charles Oliveira. David Teymur has shown some massive improvements since coming into the UFC. A guy I've known about for a long time, a kickboxing, I think he was a Nordic kickboxing champion, 2009, I want to say it was, in his early 20s. But since he's come into the UFC after those wins on the Ultimate Fighter, Thibault Gote, Johnny Nunes, beat both those guys, then lost to Marcin Rošek. Came into the UFC, beat Martin Svensson, got a takedown in that one, which was something I wasn't expecting, which is something he's actually did in majority of UFC fights, surprisingly enough, which is a way that people, I think, want to beat this guy is get takedowns and can maybe dominate on the ground. But the Jason Novelli fight, Jason Novelli is nothing. Lando Venato was a big win at the time. I think he was plus 350 as an underdog. I picked him in that one, I believe. And he just picked apart Lando Venato from the outside, was too quick. Lando Venato has never had head movement, and once you get past the kind of danger zone of Lando Venato earlier on, you can pick at that guy, and David Teymur did that so fast with his combinations in and out, and won very convincingly. Drakkar Klose is a guy that's going to look for takedowns, put you against the cage, stifle you, kind of beat you up from the cage. Just the speed and the movement of David Teymur won him that fight, and his fast hands really paid dividends in that one. And then Nick Lentz, he had a clear speed advantage. Nick Lentz did land some shots when they get close, but the more definitive, harder blows were coming from David Teymur, and won a very convincing decision over 15 minutes there. And that's what he's going to want to do here. He's not going to want to engage. He doesn't want Charles Oliveira to even get his hands on him. If Charles Oliveira gets, and by the way, the line movement in this fight is crazy. He was minus 225. He's now the underdog at plus 100, plus 105. I think the value was on Charles Oliveira when he was plus 160, plus 170. I think I saw him at one point. Crazy odds. But what I was talking about is he's not going to want Charles Oliveira to get a hand on him. Oliveira is he's one of those fighters when he comes forward, he's a hard guy to really, because he's so lengthy and so long that he can grab a hold of you. And once he's got a hold of you, he is honestly a terror. And I think he's light years above what David Teymur is when it comes to grappling. And that's something that, it's a big thing in this fight, in my opinion. I like Charles Oliveira. I don't know how guys can be confident in David Teymur. I think it's a rough fight for him, but I could be wrong. I think that eventually that Charles Oliveira is just going to wrap him up somehow and find a submission. So I'm going to go Charles Oliveira via submission, round number 2. But Charles Oliveira could pull one of his stunts again where he looks to find a way out. So who knows? Moving on, welterweight division. Demian Maia against Lyman Good. Lyman Good's a kind of physically scary fighter to look at. Got some big power. I think in this fight here, he has to try and get Demian Maia out there early. And Demian Maia is not a guy that you finish really. When was that? Was it Nate Marquardt was the last guy to finish him? That is absolutely years ago. It's like UFC 2-3. I don't even know when that was. When was that? Chris Weidman, Mark Munoz, Anderson Silva, Nate Marquardt, 2009, UFC 102. Oh my goodness gracious me. UFC 203, I don't know where that was coming from. But yeah, 10 years nearly since he was last knocked out. The guy's got a head like a coconut. Very hard to to stop, and we know what the game plan is going to be. The game plan of Demian Maia is he's going to, like he did in the Tyron Woodley fight, is try and take him down, because nobody can deal with this guy on the ground. Like, nobody. If this guy's got an advantageous position on you, he will school you down there. And he's did it against better guys. Like, I remember making the Gunnar Nelson fight. I thought Gunnar Nelson was going to give him trouble on the ground, and he wasn't even in the same realm as Demian Maia. Demian Maia, he's obviously not going to come out here and strike with Lyman Good, because he knows that Lyman Good's got big power and he could definitely hurt him with those shots. I'm not confident in Lyman Good. I don't know. I think it's a sketchy bet. If you just Maia, I think that he's got the game here that can beat Lyman Good. I think he's going to get takedowns, and I think once he gets him to the ground, he's going to school him down there. I think that Good's got a resemblance of a ground game, a get-up game, I should say. But as a ground game, I think that he's going to get drowned against someone like Demian Maia. So for me, Lyman Good has to come out here, hit him with some power shots early, put him out. I just don't see it happening. I see Demian Maia find a way to get this in the ground, and I see him submitting Lyman Good, and I think that'll be his last fight in the UFC, if you ask me. So Demian Maia via submission in that one there. Co-main event of the night. This is an absolute doozy. Jose Aldo against Renato Moicano. Yeah, this is a rough fight to pick. I think it's a tough fight to pick. If this was over, now this fight was actually offered up as the main event for this card over 5 rounds, and Jose Aldo saying no, I want it over 3, which I think is smart, because I think over 5 rounds, I think Moicano would have absolutely, I think later on in that fight would have started to put his will on Jose Aldo, and I think he would break Jose Aldo personally. Let's talk about Jose Aldo. That guy, like, people were writing him off against Jeremy Stephens, and honestly, it was one of my most favourite things in 2018 was that knockout of the finishing sequence of Jose Aldo against Jeremy Stephens. In that fight, early on in that fight, he took some shots against Jeremy Stephens, which you could see hurt him. You could definitely see once he gets hit now, his damage meter goes, and he's there to be got at, but he is super dangerous and super fast, so you have to be careful. Came through that kind of little worse for wear bit against Jeremy Stephens, and then just that body shot. My goodness, what an absolute beautiful body shot that absolutely crumpled and folded Jeremy Stephens. And then it was just such a great moment, man. One of my favourite moments of 2018 was seeing Aldo do that. Underdog as well, so some people cashed some nice bets on him in that one. But I still think that his durability is, you have to question it a little bit. I think as the fight, you've seen in the Max Holloway fights. Now, I know we're talking about the UFC featherweight champion of the world, one of the best pound for pound guys in the sport, in Max Holloway, who I say every time makes massive adjustments during fights. And we saw that in Ortega fight where he started to put on him. Once he realised he had Aldo the slightest bit hurt. Now, Aldo in the second fight started off really well, was landing some shots himself, but then Max just made slight little adjustments in there, and once he started to figure out that Aldo was fading a little bit, started to really up the ante on Jose, and Jose just he started to take a lot more shots and eventually got stopped. I think Moicano, that's what he has to do here. He has to start off he has to be very, very careful starting off here. Try and take something out of Jose Aldo, whether it be leg kicks, takedowns. Jose Aldo's got a legendary takedown defense, so it's going to be hard to get that guy down to the ground and establish something down in there. But Moicano, I think, is a well-rounded fighter that he could honestly do that. I think once this fight maybe moves into the second round, as long as Moicano's very, very astute with what he's throwing and doesn't get caught with big shots himself, which when you go back and watch his fights, I mean, Cub Swanson hit him with a couple of nice right hands. Calvin Cater hit him with some nice right hands. But they weren't really followed up with other strikes. If they're followed up with combination striking, like Aldo can throw very fast, fluent strikes, then he could be in a little bit of trouble. I think it's smart, Aldo, like honestly taking this on a 3-round fight, but I still think that Moicano has the tools in there to hurt Jose Aldo. This has been a tough one for me to pick because just the love for Jose Aldo that I have for him, I just think he's a great fighter, but I think that Moicano is the new kind of generation fighter who puts it all together very well. He's a decent striker. I mean, that jab that he dropped Cub with in that fight was so beautiful. I think he loops his strikes a little bit. If he get a lot more technical, that would help him out. But the strikes that he does have are very dangerous and very hard hitting. His leg kicks are very nice as well. I don't think he really wants to trade leg kicks with Jose Aldo. How I see him win this fight, and I'm picking Moicano, is him in the middle part of this fight starting to kind of wear on Jose Aldo and depleting him cardio-wise, hitting him with some good shots. Now, honestly, I think this is I don't know how people can bet on this fight. I'll be honest, I wanted to bet on Moicano, and the line's like -125 now, so it's a really good line if you want to bet Moicano. But I think it's a trap fight. If these rounds are close, I think that Aldo could possibly get those rounds depending on what goes on, obviously, in the round. But I'm confident, but it's hard to be super confident in Moicano because Aldo is just, you've seen that one shot, it's all that guy takes and he hurts you and you're in deep trouble. But I think there is definitely aspects of this fight where Moicano can beat him and break him, and that's how I see that there. I think that he lands a shot that could deplete Aldo enough where he could follow up and potentially get a submission, potentially get a TKO victory. So I'm going to go Moicano to actually finish him in round number 3 once Aldo, if he does take enough damage where he's depleted, his durability's gone a little bit. I think that Moicano could stop him there. So I'm going to go Moicano via 3rd round stoppage. Honestly, not super confident because I think Aldo, when he turns up, he's as good as there is in that division, no doubt about it. So Renato Moicano, 3rd round TKO victory there. And the main event of the night, we have Raphael Assuncao against Marlon Moraes, a rematch that took place, I think, in June 2017. Marlon Moraes is debuting at the UFC against one of the most underappreciated guys in the whole entire UFC, who deserves so much more respect than what he gets. Like, people really dig into this guy, and but I think he's a great fighter. I really appreciate fighters like Raphael Assuncao, who I think he's only lost, I want to say, in the last 7-8 years is probably TJ Dillashaw, UFC 200. Now TJ is probably the greatest bantamweight of all time, so that's not a bad one. And he's beat TJ Dillashaw before when they fought in Barueri, Brazil, way back in 2013. That was a different TJ Dillashaw back then, obviously, but since he lost to TJ Dillashaw, beat Aljamain Sterling, beat Marlon Moraes, beat Lopez, which, whatever. Rob Font, I think, is a good win as well. Just an overall solid fighter in every aspect of the game. Good takedown defense, decent striking, got some grappling of his own. Showed that in that first fight with Marlon Moraes. And like, Marlon had a couple of instances in that fight where I thought he was getting takedowns, and Assuncao would find some way not to be taken down and circle out and get back to his feet. And I mean, I've seen people call robbery in that fight. Honestly, that's one of the most kind of stupidest things I think I've ever seen in my life. The one thing I don't agree with that fight, it was the 30-27 scorecard for Assuncao. It was closer than that. It was so much more closer than that. I had it for Assuncao, 29-28, but it was super close. The 30-27 should never have been mentioned. The thing is with Assuncao, if you have those close rounds, he seems to just have those little things that win him rounds. So like, he hurt Marlon a little bit in that first round. He definitely hurt him in the 3rd round where he caught him with a nice, I think it was overhand right where he caught him right in the button and kind of stumbled him a little bit. Moraes kind of adjusted a little bit, landed some body kicks, had a little bit more output in the last kind of couple of minutes of that fight. So I can see why you think that Moraes won that fight, and I'm down with that. Like, I wouldn't disagree with if Moraes got the win there. But when that fight finished, you could see Marlon I think he realised that these rounds are close. This guy is a kind of master at winning those close rounds, which is, I think, a huge thing to have. I think the tempo of the fight, Marlon, if he had a little bit more output, he would have maybe looked a little bit better in the judges' eyes than what he did, and that's something I think he will try and show here. But since that loss, I mean, he beat John Dodson. I thought that was a close fight, honestly. I thought that Dodson was a little bit unlucky in that one. Absolutely stiffened Aljamain Sterling with Sterling lowered his head, fell into the knee, and then he absolutely destroyed Jimmy Rivera with a head kick and then followed it with punches. There's a little bit of bad blood in that one there. And he's looking to get his title shot here. If he beats Hafe here, he will definitely get his title shot. But I think this is going to be close. And I think in those close rounds that Raphael is super hard to look good against, and it's just hard to take rounds off of. And the kind of one big thing is here that obviously it's over 25 minutes. So how's that extra 10 minutes going to play out? Raphael, I don't think has ever had a fight over 15 minutes. Marlon has had a couple of fights go 25 minutes. So that's a little bit of a feather in his cap. He knows he can go 25. I'm not debating that Raphael can, because he's a consummate professional. And I think he definitely could. But it's a new experience when you've never did it before. I see this being a close fight. I've seen people bet on either side. I think the value is on Assuncao. He's always going to fight you. He's always going to fight for your money. I prefer... I think the line's changed from like minus plus 190 to plus 160 on Assuncao. So I like that line to go up a little bit, maybe minus plus 175 and so on. But tough fight for Marlon Moraes, especially if he wants that title shot against TJ Dillashaw. He's going to have to come out here and make a statement to get that. Saying that, if he just needs to win the fight, because Assuncao doesn't lose that many fights. So yeah, I'm going to go Assuncao in this one. I think this is going to be I think every round. Here's what I'm trying to say. I think that Marlon Moraes has to land the bigger shot. He has to do something there to kind of take rounds off him. I think in close rounds that Assuncao, I just think his output, he has a little bit more output, and he's just hard to take rounds off of. So I think he has to come out here, make a statement, hurt him with a shot, try and put him in the back foot, and then try and win that. I think he needs to try and finish him. I think he realises that here, and he'll come out aggressive and look for the finish. Where Assuncao, I think if he can come out, just fight like he did in the first fight, keep the fights close, he will win the fight. So I'm going to go Raphael Assuncao to win the fight there. I'm kind of confident he can get it done, because if it goes 25 minutes, I kind of favour him more over Marlon. So yeah, I'm going to go Raphael Assuncao via decision to win the main event there. So that's my picks for UFC Fortaleza. Back next week for UFC 234. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to go to my bed. It's nearly 2 a.m. I've got work tomorrow. I've already lost an hour after the video disappearing. So let me know your fight picks. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to join my DraftKings League, I'll pin that to the top here. Until next week, enjoy the fight card when it comes around, and all the best with your bets and everything else that you're going to be doing, DraftKings, so on. So all the best.